Commander Ethan Cole stood at the viewport of the UES Vigilant, watching the stars drift by as the ship cruised through the darkness of space. It was the year 2183, and humanity had maintained a careful presence in galactic politics for nearly 3 decades. Earth's policy had been clear from the beginning: observe, trade peacefully, and avoid unnecessary conflicts. The quiet hum of the bridge surrounded him until Communications Officer Diane Powell's voice cut through his thoughts. "Commander, we're receiving a distress signal from Proxima Centauri V." Cole turned quickly. Proxima Centauri was home to one of humanity's first off-world colonies, a peaceful farming settlement of about 12,000 people. "Put it through," he ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing a man with a bloodied face. Smoke filled the background and distant screams could be heard. "This is Governor Alex Murphy of New Haven Colony. We're under attack." They came without warning. "Ships unlike anything we've seen. They're destroying everything. Please send." The transmission cut off abruptly. "Get that signal back," Cole shouted. "I can't, sir," Powell replied, her fingers moving rapidly across her console. "The transmission source has gone offline." Cole's jaw tightened. "Set course for Proxima Centauri, maximum speed. Alert Earth Command." The Vigilant arrived 18 hours later. What they found was devastation. The once thriving colony had been reduced to smoking ruins. Buildings were flattened, fields burned, and the colonial defense systems had been completely overwhelmed. Search teams found only 87 survivors hiding in underground storage facilities. Many were injured, all were traumatized. "They called themselves the Vorathi," said one survivor, a farmer named Olivia Reed, as a medic treated burns on her arm. "Tall beings with gray skin. They said we were insignificant newcomers who needed to learn our place. Then they opened fire." Cole's team collected what data they could. The attack pattern was methodical and brutal, clearly meant to leave no survivors. The Vorathi ships had appeared suddenly, disabled the colony's limited defenses with precise strikes, then systematically destroyed every structure. Back on Earth, Admiral Catherine Wright called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. The chamber was silent as Cole finished his report, the holographic images of the destruction floating above the table. "This was not a misunderstanding," Cole concluded. "This was a message. The Vorathi want us to know they can destroy us whenever they choose." Admiral Wright nodded slowly. She was a veteran of Earth's unification wars, her face weathered by decades of difficult decisions. "What do we know about these Vorathi?" she asked. Intelligence Officer Grace Harris stepped forward. "Not much, Admiral. They control a small empire about 30 light-years from Proxima. Until now, they've shown little interest in human territory. Our diplomatic attempts to establish contact after the attack have been met with silence." Survivors mentioned something else, Cole added. Before the attack, the Vorathi commander broadcast a message. He said, "Let this be a lesson to all young species who think they can claim stars that don't belong to them." Council member Dr. Samuel Green, a gray-haired xenobiologist, leaned forward. "This fits a pattern we've observed in other parts of the galaxy. Established species bullying newcomers to maintain their territorial advantages." Admiral Wright's eyes narrowed. "They've made a grave miscalculation." She turned to face the gathered leaders. "Since our arrival on the galactic stage, we've hidden much of our true capabilities. We've presented ourselves as peaceful explorers and traders, which we are. But the Vorathi have mistaken our restraint for weakness." Wright stood, her voice steady. "I believe it's time to issue humanity's first and final warning to the galaxy." The Defense Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Wright's words hung in the air. The curved walls displayed real-time data from across human space, including a pulsing red dot where the Proxima Centauri colony had stood. "A warning?" asked General Frank Miller, his bushy eyebrows pulling together. "What kind of warning can we give that would matter to a species willing to slaughter thousands without provocation?" Dr. Alan Foster, the Council's historian and sinologist, cleared his throat. He was a thin man with kind eyes that belied his strategic mind. The Vorathi, like most galactic species, have misunderstood something fundamental about humanity, Foster said. They see us as they see all emerging civilizations, as soft creatures from gentle worlds. He activated a holographic display showing Earth alongside known homeworlds of other spacefaring species. Unlike the majority of intelligent species in our galaxy, humans evolved on what would be classified as a high-gravity death world. Our planet has extreme environmental variations, deadly predators, and natural disasters that would devastate most alien civilizations. Lieutenant Grace Powell nodded in agreement. Our intelligence suggests the Vorathi expanded by conquering 5 other species in the past century. All came from worlds with stable climates and limited predation pressure. Nothing like Earth. Commander Cole studied the data. And our technology. We've been careful to show only our commercial and scientific capabilities in galactic forums. Precisely, Admiral Wright said. Since the Third World War, Earth has maintained certain military technologies in reserve. Our public fleet is comprised of exploration and diplomatic vessels. But we've been developing defensive capabilities designed to protect humanity from existential threats. She pressed a button, revealing schematics for ships and weapons systems, unlike anything in the known public fleet. Project Safeguard has been operational for 15 years. We have 6 fully armed warships ready to deploy, with technologies 2 generations beyond anything we've shown to the galactic community. Council member Patricia Dawson, representing the civilian government, looked troubled. If we reveal these capabilities, we risk changing how all species view us. We've worked hard to establish ourselves as peaceful newcomers. The Vorathi have already changed that perception, Cole replied. If we do nothing, they'll continue to see us as easy targets, and others might follow their example. Admiral Wright walked around the table, her face grim. I propose we implement Protocol Omega, a graduated response that begins with a clear demonstration of our capabilities, followed by a direct message to all spacefaring civilizations. The room erupted in debate. Some council members argued for immediate military action against the Vorathi, while others pushed for continued diplomatic efforts. After hours of discussion, a vote was called. Protocol Omega is approved, Admiral Wright announced as the final tally appeared. Now we need someone to lead the mission. All eyes turned to Captain Noah Bennett as he entered the chamber. He was younger than most captains, but his tactical brilliance had earned him respect throughout the fleet. Captain Bennett, Admiral Wright said, "You'll command the UES Vindicator on this mission. Your orders are to deliver humanity's message to the galaxy and provide a measured demonstration of our resolve." Bennett stood straight, his expression serious. "What exactly should this demonstration entail, Admiral?" Wright's eyes were cold as steel. "Nothing excessive. Target an uninhabited Vorathi military outpost. Show them precisely what we could do, but choose not to. Make it surgical, controlled, and absolutely undeniable." Dr. Foster added quietly, "The galaxy needs to understand that humans aren't just another peaceful species to be conquered or pushed aside. We've walked a path of fire and blood throughout our history, and we've learned to choose peace, not because we must, but because we should." Bennett nodded. "When do we depart?" "Immediately," Wright replied. "The Vindicator is ready. The galaxy is about to learn why Earth has survived everything the universe has thrown at it." The UES Vindicator emerged from Earth's orbital shipyard, its sleek hull reflecting the pale sunlight. Unlike the rounded, diplomatic vessels humanity had previously shown to the galaxy, the Vindicator featured angular lines and armored plating. Its size alone, nearly twice that of any previously revealed human ship, would have been statement enough. Captain Noah Bennett stood on the bridge, watching as his crew prepared for departure. Most had trained for years in secret, preparing for a day they hoped would never come. "Reactor at full capacity, Captain," reported Science Officer Olivia Martinez. "Quantum shields operational and stable." Bennett nodded. "Communications check with our escort vessels." The Sentinel, Guardian, and Protector all report ready, sir, replied Communications Officer Jason Flores. The Vindicator led its small fleet out of the solar system, accelerating to speeds no human vessel had publicly demonstrated before. The journey to neutral space took mere hours rather than days. We've reached the coordinates, Captain, Navigator Susan Hill announced. All major galactic communication relays are within range. Bennett took a deep breath. Begin broadcast on all frequencies and translation protocols. The face of Admiral Wright appeared on screens across thousands of worlds as the transmission began. This message is from the United Earth Government to all spacefaring civilizations. For decades, humanity has peacefully explored and traded among the stars. We have respected boundaries and sought friendship. Recently, the Vorathi Empire attacked and destroyed our colony on Proxima Centauri without provocation or warning, murdering thousands of civilians. We wish to make our position clear. Humanity desires peace, but we will not tolerate aggression against our people. What follows is a demonstration of capabilities we have kept in reserve. Let it serve as both warning and promise. Attack humanity again, and you will face the full measure of our response. The transmission ended, and Bennett turned to his tactical officer. Set course for the Vorathi military outpost on Callan IV. The fleet arrived at the uninhabited moon, where the Vorathi had established an automated defensive station. Sensors showed no life forms present, just as their intelligence had indicated. All ships in position, Tactical Officer Max Rivera reported. Bennett straightened his uniform. Begin the demonstration. Remember, precision is key. The Vindicator's weapon systems came online. Unlike the simple defensive lasers of Earth's public fleet, these were gravity-focused particle beams capable of surgical strikes at incredible distances. The first beam struck the outpost's main power core, disabling it instantly. The second and third eliminated defensive turrets before they could activate. Within 30 seconds, every military capability of the outpost had been neutralized without destroying the structures themselves. Second phase, Bennett ordered. A small drone launched from the Vindicator, approaching the disabled outpost. It entered through an airlock and proceeded to the command center. The drone transmitted images back to the ship, showing it placing the small device on the main computer console. Message delivered. Officer Rivera confirmed. The fleet departed, leaving the outpost intact but completely helpless. On screens across the galaxy, the demonstration was broadcast alongside a simple message. The Vorathi outpost on Callan IV has been neutralized without casualties. We disabled rather than destroyed it, demonstrating both our capabilities and our restraint. Humanity has evolved in one of the most challenging environments in the galaxy. We have survived predators, disasters, and our own destructive tendencies. We choose peace because we understand war better than most. This is humanity's first and final warning. We will defend our people. Any further aggression against human settlements will be met with appropriate force. To those who seek friendship, our hands remain extended. To those who seek conflict, know that Earth has faced extinction many times before, and we are still here. The message ended as the Vindicator and its escorts vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving a stunned galaxy to consider humanity's warning. 3 days after the demonstration, the bridge of the Vindicator was quiet as Captain Bennett reviewed reports from across human space. The galaxy's reaction had been mixed. Some species had reached out with diplomatic overtures, while others maintained a wary silence. Captain, we're receiving an encrypted transmission from Earth Command. Communications Officer Jason Flores announced suddenly. Priority Alpha. Bennett's expression tightened. Put it through to my ready room. The message was brief but alarming. Intelligence had intercepted Vorathi military communications indicating their emperor had dismissed humanity's warning as an elaborate bluff. A Vorathi battle fleet had just launched toward the human colony of New Phoenix, home to over 50,000 civilians. Bennett returned to the bridge, his face grim. Set course for New Phoenix, maximum speed. Alert our escort vessels. Sir, Daniel Hayes called from his monitoring station. I've intercepted a Vorathi transmission. They're broadcasting their attack plans openly. They want us to hear." Bennett played the message for the bridge crew. The Vorathi Emperor's gravelly voice filled the room. "Let the humans watch as we demonstrate true power. Their pathetic display at Callan IV changes nothing. They are still children playing at war, and children must learn their place." The Vindicator and its escorts pushed their engines beyond safe limits, racing toward New Phoenix. But they all knew they wouldn't arrive in time to prevent the initial assault. "Colony evacuation protocols are active," reported Officer Martinez, "but only 30% of the population will reach shelters before the Vorathi arrive." The bridge fell silent as they received the first images from New Phoenix. The Vorathi fleet, 15 warships in a crescent formation, had begun orbital bombardment of the colony's main settlement. Buildings collapsed under the barrage, and fires spread rapidly through the agricultural sectors. "Casualty reports coming in," Hayes said quietly. "Current estimate is 7,000 dead, with numbers rising." Bennett's knuckles turned white as he gripped the command chair. "How long until we arrive?" 17 minutes, sir." The captain activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is Captain Bennett. The Vorathi have attacked New Phoenix. Thousands of our people are dead. When we arrive, we will implement Stage 2 of Protocol Omega. May God have mercy on our enemies, because we will not." As the human fleet approached New Phoenix, the Vorathi ships maintained their bombardment, apparently unconcerned about the approaching vessels. "They're not breaking formation," Tactical Officer Rivera observed. "They don't see us as a threat." Bennett nodded. "Advantage is ours, then. Engineer Richards, prepare the quantum displacement systems." Chief Engineer Kelly Richards' voice came through the comm. "Systems ready, Captain. On your mark." The Vindicator dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly behind the Vorathi formation. Before the alien vessels could react, the human ship seemed to flicker in and out of existence. "Displacement successful," Richards reported. "We are now simultaneous in 3 positions." What followed shocked observers across the galaxy who monitored the battle. The Vindicator appeared to be in multiple locations at once, firing precision weapons that cut through Vorathi shields as if they weren't there. The escort vessels deployed autonomous combat drones that overwhelmed the aliens' targeting systems. Within 9 minutes, 13 Vorathi warships had been disabled. Their weapons, engines, and life support remained intact, but they were helpless, floating dead in space. The remaining 2 Vorathi ships attempted to flee. One escaped. The other was captured intact. Captain Bennett opened a channel to the captured vessel. "This is Captain Noah Bennett of Earth. Your crew will not be harmed. Your ship is being towed to Earth for examination. You attacked our colony without mercy, yet we spare your lives. Remember this moment. It defines the difference between us." The Vindicator remained in orbit around New Phoenix, assisting with rescue operations as the galaxy watched in stunned silence. The diplomatic chambers of Earth's United Nations complex hummed with activity. Just 12 days after the battle at New Phoenix, representatives from 12 previously neutral species had requested emergency meetings with humanity's leaders. Ambassador Julia Blackwood surveyed the room, her experienced eyes taking in the diverse gathering of alien delegates. "This is unprecedented," whispered her aide, Zachary Mills. "The Phylaxian ambassador hasn't left their homeworld in 30 years, yet here they are." Blackwood nodded. "Fear and respect are powerful motivators." The central doors opened as Admiral Wright entered, accompanied by Captain Bennett and the Defense Council. The room fell silent, all eyes turning to the humans who had so dramatically altered the galactic balance of power. A tall, reed-thin alien with iridescent skin rose first. Ambassador Orcs of the Tellarate Confederation spoke in the formal tones of a diplomat who had carefully measured each word. "Humanity has revealed itself to be unexpected," Lorix began. "For decades, we believed you to be peaceful explorers from a gentle world. Now we understand this was incomplete information." Admiral Wright stepped forward. We never claimed to be from a gentle world, Ambassador. We simply chose to emphasize our peaceful intentions rather than our capacity for war. The Phylaxian ambassador, a small figure wrapped in shimmering robes, spoke next. The Vorathi have conquered 3 Phylaxian outer colonies in the past decade. They claimed resistance was futile. After witnessing your response at New Phoenix, they have withdrawn from our territories without condition. Similar stories emerged from other delegates. The Vorathi Empire had been systematically expanding for over a century, using fear and overwhelming force against less militarily advanced species. Humanity's demonstration had sent shockwaves through the Empire's command structure. As the diplomatic discussions continued, Security Chief Ryan Martins noticed something unusual in the chamber's sensor readings. A quick hand signal to his team sent them moving quietly through the room. "Excuse me, Admiral," Martinez interrupted smoothly. "A security matter requires immediate attention." In a swift, coordinated movement, Martinez's team surrounded a Draylan delegate at the back of the chamber. When searched, the diplomat was found carrying a quantum phase disruptor, a weapon designed to bypass security systems. "A Vorathi assassin," Martins announced, displaying evidence of genetic modification. Disguised as a Draylan representative, the chamber erupted in chaotic discussion until Ambassador Blackwood raised her hand for silence. "It seems the Vorathi Emperor is not content with direct conflict," she said calmly. "Now he attempts subterfuge and assassination." The genuine Draylan ambassador, Vex Nor, stepped forward. "This confirms our intelligence. The Vorathi see humanity as their greatest threat, the only species capable of stopping their expansion." "Then perhaps it is time to formalize our mutual concerns," suggested Admiral Wright. "Not as conquerors or empire builders, but as defenders of self-determination." Over the next 3 days, the gathered species formed the Galactic Defense Coalition, the first true military alliance in recent galactic history. Tactical Officer Benjamin Clark worked with military representatives from each species, developing coordinated defense strategies that leveraged each civilization's unique capabilities. "The Vorathi have always targeted isolated worlds," Clark explained during a strategy session. "They avoid species with strong alliances, preferring to conquer those who stand alone." As the alliance took shape, intelligence reports indicated the Vorathi were gathering their forces for a massive counterattack. Their target was no longer humanity's colonies. It was Earth itself. Ambassador Blackwood addressed the coalition one final time before returning to her ship. "For too long, peaceful species have been bullied and conquered by those who mistake kindness for weakness. Humanity may have been the catalyst for this alliance, but we are merely one among equals. Together, we stand ready to face whatever comes." As the delegates departed, Admiral Wright turned to Captain Bennett. "They'll be coming for Earth next. Are you prepared for what that means?" Bennett nodded grimly. "The Vindicator was built for this day, Admiral. We'll be ready." The early warning systems of Jupiter's orbital station registered the anomaly first, a massive distortion in spacetime, followed by the emergence of over 40 Vorathi warships. The largest invasion fleet seen in the galaxy in centuries had arrived at the edge of humanity's home system. "This is Fleet Commander Samantha Wilson of Earth Defense. All civilian vessels retreat to designated shelters. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Emergency sirens wailed across every human settlement from Mercury to the Kuiper Belt. Earth's orbital defense platforms, hidden within innocent-looking satellites and space stations, began to activate. 6 human warships, led by the Vindicator, moved into defensive positions. "They'd brought everything they have," observed Captain Bennett, studying the tactical display on the Vindicator's bridge. "Nearly half their empire's military strength in one assault." Admiral Wright's hologram appeared on the command deck. "The Vorathi Emperor himself is leading this attack. According to intercepted communications, he's called this the final solution to the human problem." The Vorathi fleet advanced methodically toward Earth, destroying automated outposts and research stations in their path. Their formation was tight and disciplined, designed to concentrate firepower against the seemingly outnumbered human defenses. Coalition forces are responding to our distress call, reported Communications Officer Flores. But the nearest ships are 6 hours out. Bennett nodded grimly. Then we hold until they arrive. All ships implement defensive pattern echo. Dr. Morgan, is the planetary shield ready? Dr. Lisa Morgan's voice came through from Earth Control. The shield can sustain full coverage for 23 minutes, Captain. Use that time wisely. The battle began with a massive volley from the Vorathi fleet. Energy weapons and gravity torpedoes streaked toward Earth, only to be intercepted by the previously hidden defense grid. A shimmering blue barrier encircled the planet, absorbing the devastating attack. Return fire, Bennett ordered calmly. The human ships executed a complex maneuver, splitting their formation in ways that seemed to defy physics. The Vindicator appeared to be in 3 places simultaneously, confusing Vorathi targeting systems. Human weapons fire was precise and devastating, focusing on propulsion and weapons systems rather than life support. Despite being outnumbered, the human fleet disabled 7 Vorathi ships in the first exchange. But the aliens adapted quickly, adjusting their tactics to counter the quantum displacement technology. They're learning. Tactical Officer Rivera warned as a blast rocked the Vindicator. Shield integrity at 63%. Bennett studied the enemy formation, noting a pattern in their movements. They're protecting something in the center of their fleet. Navigator Rodriguez, can you get us a visual? Navigator Eric Rodriguez adjusted the sensors. It's a command ship, sir. Twice the size of the others. Energy readings suggest the Vorathi Emperor is on board. A plan formed in Bennett's mind, desperate but potentially decisive. I need a volunteer team for a boarding mission. Sir, Rivera questioned, eyes wide. While our fleet keeps them engaged, a small team will infiltrate the command ship. If we can capture or eliminate their leadership, we might end this without further bloodshed. 6 crew members stepped forward immediately. Bennett selected 4, including himself, Navigator Rodriguez, and 2 security specialists. Commander Wilson will take command of the Vindicator, Bennett announced. We'll use a modified stealth shuttle to approach during the next sensor blind spot. The tiny shuttle launched during a particularly intense exchange of fire, its signature masked by the battle's chaos. Rodriguez piloted with extraordinary skill, navigating through the Vorathi formation using debris fields as cover. Approaching the command ship, Rodriguez reported. Their shields have a fluctuation pattern we can exploit. Now, the shuttle slipped through a momentary weakness in the Vorathi shields, landing in an unguarded maintenance bay. Bennett's team moved swiftly through the alien vessel, encountering surprisingly little resistance. They never expected anyone would board during a space battle, Bennett realized. Their internal security is minimal. Following the ship's power signatures, they reached the central chamber where the Vorathi Emperor directed the battle. The massive alien turned in surprise as the humans entered, his 8 eyes widening in disbelief. Impossible, he growled in translated speech. No species would dare. Humanity dares, Bennett interrupted, raising his weapon. And this ends now. The Vorathi Emperor towered over Captain Bennett, his gray skin reflecting the dim lights of the command chamber. 4 of his 8 eyes focused on the humans while the others monitored the battle displays. You have invaded my flagship, the Emperor said, his translator giving his words a metallic quality. Impressive, but futile. My fleet will destroy your homeworld regardless of what happens here. Bennett stood firm. Look at your displays, Emperor. Your ships are falling one by one. The battle is lost. The Emperor glanced at the tactical screens. Indeed, the Vorathi fleet was now in disarray. With the command ship's attention diverted by the boarding party, coordinated defense had collapsed. Coalition forces had begun to arrive, attacking from the system's edge. Even if you defeat this fleet, the Emperor growled, the Vorathi Empire spans dozens of worlds. We will rebuild and return stronger. Bennett shook his head. We don't want to destroy your empire. We never did. This was always about setting boundaries. He activated a communication device, and a holographic image of Earth appeared between them. This is our homeworld, Bennett explained, a planet that tried to kill us countless times. Our gravity is crushing to most species, our weather systems deadly, our evolutionary path filled with predators and disasters. Yet we survived, adapted, and thrived. The Emperor studied the human with his primary eyes. What is your point, human? Humanity doesn't want galactic dominance. We simply refuse to be dominated. We are the final blade, the species that evolution forged to defend against extinction at all costs. Around them, the sounds of battle began to fade as more Vorathi ships surrendered. The Emperor slowly lowered himself onto his command throne, a gesture of resignation. "What are your terms?" he asked. 2 weeks later, Captain Bennett stood before the newly expanded Galactic Council. Representatives from 27 species filled the Grand Chamber on neutral territory, an unprecedented gathering. The Vorathi Empire has agreed to full reparations for all affected worlds, Bennett announced. Their military capabilities will be reduced and monitored. Most importantly, they have signed the Mutual Defense Accord, joining our coalition as equal partners. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The idea of the aggressive Vorathi joining a peacekeeping alliance seemed impossible just weeks ago. Ambassador Julia Blackwood stepped forward. The Vorathi Emperor has requested permission to address the council. The Emperor entered, now wearing simple diplomatic robes rather than battle armor. His voice was subdued but clear. For centuries, my species believed strength meant conquest. We targeted those we saw as weak, expanding our influence through fear. Humanity has taught us a costly but valuable lesson. True strength lies in restraint. Systems analyst Maria Chen presented the framework for the new galactic defense structure. Under her proposal, each species would contribute according to their abilities, creating a balanced force that could respond to threats without any single power dominating. We call it the Final Blade Protocol, Chen explained, a promise that aggression against any member world will be met with unified response, while peaceful civilizations remain free to develop without fear. As the council session concluded, Bennett found himself on an observation deck, looking out at the stars. Admiral Wright joined him silently. "You realize what we've done," Wright said after a moment. "We've changed the course of galactic history." Bennett nodded. For better or worse, humanity has revealed its true nature to the stars. "And what is that nature, Captain?" Bennett considered the question. "We are paradoxes, scientists and warriors, explorers and defenders, capable of great compassion and terrible fury. We're the species that learned to split the atom before we learned to live in peace with ourselves. We're the final blade, sharp enough to cut, wise enough to know when not to." Wright smiled slightly. "Let's hope the galaxy remembers the lesson." "They will," Bennett said, watching as coalition ships from a dozen worlds passed by the station. The final blade remained sheathed, but never forgotten. Across the galaxy, species that had lived in fear for generations began to rebuild, and in distant corners of space, other aggressive empires took note of humanity's warning. Peace is always the better choice, but those who seek war should be careful what they wish for. 5 years after the Vorathi War, the observation dome of the Galactic Council's headquarters on Neutral Station Alpha provided a spectacular view of ships from dozens of species coming and going peacefully. Captain Noah Bennett, now Admiral Bennett, stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the traffic with quiet satisfaction. "Admiring your handiwork?" asked a familiar voice. Bennett turned to see Ambassador Blackwood approaching, her diplomatic uniform replaced with civilian clothes. "Just thinking about how much has changed," Bennett replied. 5 years ago, most species in this sector were either conquering or being conquered. Blackwood nodded. "The Final Blade Protocol has brought the longest period of galactic peace in recorded history. 16 former conflicts resolved through mediation last year alone." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Commander Olivia Martinez, Bennett's former science officer, now captain of the UES Concord. "Admiral, Ambassador," she greeted them with a respectful nod. "The graduation ceremony begins in 30 minutes. They made their way to the Grand Assembly Hall where representatives from 32 species had gathered. At the center stood 100 young officers, the first class of the Galactic Defense Academy. What made this group remarkable was its composition. Humans training alongside Vorathi, Phylaxians beside Talarians, and even species that had been bitter enemies for generations. Admiral Wright took the podium, her uniform adorned with the insignia of both Earth and the Galactic Coalition. "When we established this academy 3 years ago, many doubted it could succeed," Wright began. "How could species with such different biologies, cultures, and histories possibly train together? Yet today, you stand as living proof that cooperation trumps conflict." In the front row sat the Vorathi Emperor's son, Prince Corax, his 8 eyes focused intently on Wright. The young prince had volunteered as one of the first Vorathi cadets, determined to reshape his species' legacy. After the ceremony, Bennett found himself speaking with Corax in the reception hall. "My father still speaks of your confrontation on his flagship," Corax said. "He says it was the first time he truly understood the concept of honorable restraint." Bennett smiled slightly. Different species, same lessons. Earth spent centuries learning them the hard way. Systems analyst Maria Chen approached with a data tablet, her expression serious. "Admiral, we've detected unusual activity in the uncharted regions beyond the Cygnus Arm. Something is disrupting subspace communications in a pattern too regular to be natural." Bennett studied the data. "How many systems affected?" 17 so far, and spreading in a clear pattern," Chen replied. "Whatever it is, it's moving methodically toward coalition space." The observation caused a quiet stir among the assembled dignitaries. Unknown threats from beyond explored space had been theoretical concerns until now. Ambassador Blackwood joined their circle. "The Council should be informed immediately." Bennett nodded. "Agreed, but without causing panic. This could be a previously unknown natural phenomenon." Prince Corax surprised them all by speaking up, or it could be the reason why ancient records from multiple worlds mention cycles of civilization collapse. "My species has legends of the Great Silence that comes every few millennia." The implications hung heavy in the air. If something existed that periodically reset galactic civilization, humanity and its allies might face a threat beyond anything they had prepared for. "If that's true," Bennett said thoughtfully, "then perhaps the Vorathi War and all that followed happened for a reason. The galaxy needed to be united before this arrived." Later that evening, as council representatives debated the appropriate response, Bennett returned to the observation dome. The stars seemed different now, not just beautiful, but filled with both promise and potential danger. "Whatever's coming," he said softly to himself, "we'll face it together. Not just as humans, not just as a coalition, but as a galaxy that finally understands the value of standing united." He touched the final blade insignia on his collar. Perhaps humanity's true purpose was larger than anyone had imagined. Not just the final blade against tyranny, but against extinction itself.